Hey besties, welcome back to the podcast. I'm Nic. This is your safe, empowering, shame-free space where we are going to be able to talk about all things food freedom, body image, and healing your relationship with yourself. So today's episode is one that I know that so many of you have been waiting for because it's real and it's raw and it's deeply personal. So we're going to be talking about the fear of weight gain. So that panicky, spirally feeling that creeps in when the scale starts to go up, your jeans are feeling a little bit tighter, or you realize that your body is changing. Even though you're doing this work right now to heal and to recover, I've been chatting with a few of our gals in the bestie community in the DMs, and they've been struggling with this lately. So I felt called to make an episode for you guys that speaks directly to what you're going through. And that is that fear of weight regain. If you've already been on a weight loss journey and your shape and weight has changed, but now you're noticing that those numbers are starting to go up again, we're going to be talking about that fear. That feeling of not being safe. And just a reminder that my DMs are always open. So if there's a topic that you would like me to cover on the podcast, please just flick me a DM. I'm a real human. I am not a bot. I know that sometimes it might feel like that when you get actual responses, but no, I'm truly here and I really want to know what's going to serve you guys best. So just let me know, is there anything you'd like me to cover on the potty? And I'll try my best to do that for you guys. So when you reach out as well, when you reach out to me and you share what you're struggling with and you share what's on your heart, it gives me the chance not just to support you, but to support so many more women in our community, because you are not the only one who is struggling with a particular issue. Chances is, and I know you would have heard this at school, no question is a dumb question. And if you're struggling with something, then another woman will be too. So just ask me any questions you have, and then I can create an episode and I can support you, but also women all around the world. So don't be shy. Okay, so this episode that we're recording today, it is about, and it is for the women who are screaming to me and saying, gosh, I'm doing the healing work. I'm applying the strategies. I'm on this recovery journey, but why do I feel like I'm failing still? Why am I still stuck in that loop of, hey, I was thinner before, why can't I just be in that body again? Or maybe you're scared that if you go on an intuitive eating or food freedom journey, you feel like that means you have to totally let go of control. Okay, so we're going to talk about that. When you let go of control, this is kind of the crux of what today's episode is going to be. When you let go of control, you will not gain weight. You will not gain and gain and gain forever. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is about that fear of weight regain and why food freedom and intuitive eating does not guarantee that you're going to gain weight forever endlessly. Don't worry, you will not. So we will be talking about why weight gain can actually be a really healthy, healing part of your recovery journey and not a sign that you're doing it wrong. We're going to be talking about the trap of body comparison. So especially comparison to your before body or your after body. And how this fear can actually trigger more binge eating and more self-sabotage. And we're going to talk about a bit of science too. So we're going to talk about something called set point theory. And this is something that really shook me. It was something that I found really helpful in my own recovery journey when I had a bit of weight regain following a large weight loss. So I lost 50 kgs a few years back, and then I regained another 10, and it was incredibly triggering and I felt like a failure. So we're going to talk about something called set point theory that's all about helping your body feel safe and comfortable in its happy weight. Let's keep going with the episode, and let's start with just that feeling of fear and freak out around weight gain. And I want you to know that you're not broken for having this fear. You're not vain. You're not shallow. You are just human. Okay? And you've been raised in a world that equates your thinness with success and equates thinness with health, thinness with worth, thinness with even morality. And when we have any change away from that ideal, it can feel really, really scary. So I just want to take a moment to validate that for you, okay? And especially if you have been on a journey with your body and you might have worked really hard to lose weight, whether that was through dieting. I mean, you know from listening to this podcast, or if you're following me online, I'm staunchly anti-diet and I have my reasons for that. So maybe you lost that weight through dieting. Maybe it's through exercise. Maybe it's through medication, maybe weight loss surgery, whatever. When you see that number starting to go back up, it can and it probably will trigger feelings of failure. So you might feel like all of your hard work has been wasted. I know I definitely felt that way myself. So you might feel like your identity and your sense of self is starting to slip away. And that is so scary because especially if you were in a bigger body to begin with and you move into a smaller body, you do notice that the world starts to treat you a lot differently. And it can feel like that weight regain is a sign that you're about to lose it all, lose this new life that you've built for yourself. So here's what I want you to hear in the face of that. I want you to know that you're not going backwards. You are not failing. You can still be healing. And healing really looks quite messy. Healing is not perfect and it is definitely not linear. In fact, for many of us, healing our relationship with food, it does actually involve a little bit of weight change. Because when you stop micromanaging your body will start to recalibrate. So that could mean, and I use the word could because we're all different, it could mean some weight gain, it could mean some weight loss, it could mean weight stabilization. Just depends on your unique biology and your history. So even when you know this logically, even when you know it's okay to put on a little bit of weight while your body finds its happy place, logically you know this, but the fear can still be really, really paralyzing. And it can lead to obsessively weighing yourself or panicking after every meal that you have, feeling ashamed, especially when, like your clothes stop fitting quite the same way, your confidence takes a blow. And the worst thing about it is that it can trigger you to go back into that binge restrict cycle again. That fear that you're having, the fear of your body changing, the fear of weight regain, it's not because you're weak. It's because diet culture keeps teaching you that weight gain equals failure and that your body is only ever acceptable when it's shrinking. And we're just going to bust that lie right now. We know, especially in this Binge Free Bestie community, that your weight and shape does not dictate your worth. But diet culture sure as heck makes us feel that way. So let's just get to the heart of that. Any fear of weight gain that you might be having, especially after you've lost weight, whether, again, that was through dieting, meds, surgery, major lifestyle changes, it is very real. It is a real fear and it can feel all-consuming. So you probably worked so hard to get to where you are with your body, and now when you see that scale creeping up, it's bloody scary because you likely thought that losing weight was going to mean freedom and it was going to mean permanent freedom. But instead, if you're seeing the number on the scale changing again, you're probably noticing that those obsessive thoughts are coming back in and you're scared that you've undone everything. Maybe even you've reached a goal weight that you thought would just fix everything in your life. I know that I did when I got down to my dream body. I was absolutely shocked that my dream body did not guarantee me the peace and the joy and the love that I thought that it would bring me. I did have lots of amazing things happen in my life when my weight and shape changed and I regained a lot of confidence and health and energy. Yes, for sure. But I didn't get everything that I thought I was going to get with that change in my weight and my shape. So here's the truth that I wish more people had just said out loud. So That fear of weight regain is one of the biggest triggers for binge and emotional eating. And it's going to look like this cycle, and see if this feels familiar for you. So you might notice that your weight is slowly shifting up a little bit. Then you start to get feelings of panic. So maybe you start to restrict a little bit, clean up your diet a little bit, maybe skip meals, control your portions a little more, maybe tell yourself it's time to be good again. Then what happens is your body will now be underfed, undernourished, stressed out, and it's going to rebel against you. That's when you have a binge, okay? Following the binge, it's those old familiar feelings of shame and guilt. You feel like you've failed, and then this shame spiral starts to really suck you in. Once you get stuck in that shame spiral, you promise yourself, okay, diet starts Monday, I'm going to be good next week, I'm going to get back on track. And that is the binge restrict cycle, and it just goes around and around and around because it is vicious and it is nasty. That binge restrict cycle that you keep getting sucked into is not a personal failure. It is just a biological and psychological response to restriction, both physical and mental restriction. And our bodies absolutely hate restriction. Obviously, our bodies want to survive. And our minds, especially if we've been steeped in diet culture for years, can twist any fluctuation in our weight into a catastrophe, right? But the good news, and we can celebrate this, is that the binge restrict cycle and that cycle of fear around any changes in your body can be broken. And the way that we break that is not by doubling down on control and micromanaging our body. It is by building trust with your body again. So yeah, that is scary, I admit, especially if you have been taught your entire life that your worth is tied to your size. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to explain why your body might be gaining weight, especially after you have had a significant weight loss. So, of course, diet culture never explains this to us, because I feel like this piece of information was absolutely a secret weapon for me in my own recovery journey. So it's probably not something that you want to hear, but sometimes when your body is gaining weight, it's because it needs to gain weight, okay? And I know that's probably not what you want to hear. But if you're somebody who has been restricting, dieting, or just living in survival mode for a long time, your body might be doing exactly what it is meant to do. Okay, so I want to introduce you to a concept that changed everything for me in my binge eating recovery journey, and that is something called set point theory. So your set point is the weight range that your body naturally wants to be in order to function properly and just to be happy and healthy. So functioning optimally with physical health, mental health, hormonal health. It's like set point theory, or your set point weight, is like your body's internal thermostat. So when you dip too low, so when your body weight gets too low, your body is going to increase those hunger signals, it's going to slow your metabolism, it's going to ramp up those cravings, and it's going to bring you back to your home, bring you back to your healthy range. So if you have been severely restricting food by, say, a diet, or you've been over-exercising, taking appetite suppressants, using injectables, you might have had a weight loss surgery, or you've just been constantly living in a state of fight or flight, then your body may interpret that as a threat. And when you finally start eating more, or you start relaxing your control over what you're eating, i.e. maybe you start trying out intuitive eating, maybe you start trying food freedom techniques, you may actually gain a little bit of weight at the start. And that's not because you're out of control. That is because you are recovering, okay? So this is not a bad thing. This is fantastic, actually. This is especially true as I said, if you have been on a weight loss medication or you've had bariatric surgery like I did, if your body was previously underfueled, it may now just be reclaiming its stability. Okay, it's trying to find a place where you can stay that is sustainable without having to control your portion sizes for the rest of your life, or use that injection for the rest of your life, or have to go to HIIT 5 times a week because you have to maintain that weight. It's not a failure. You are healing. That's amazing. And so the other part I want to add there is, does everybody gain weight in recovery? No, not everyone will see weight regain as part of their recovery journey. Some people will stay at the same weight, some people will lose weight. But weight isn't the most important thing that I want you to focus on anyway. We want to focus on function and freedom and just living your freaking life, okay? So the truth is that a stable, nourished brain does not binge. A well-fed body does not need to send you urgent food signals. And a regulated nervous system can trust and it can feel safe again, and you won't have to be using food to soothe. So yes, kind of what I wanted to wrap up in this episode is that weight gain might happen as part of your recovery journey, as part of healing your relationship with food and your body. And yes, I acknowledge, and I felt this too, it is uncomfortable, especially if you've worked so hard to change your weight and shape. And just because you're living in this society that is telling you that your value comes from the size of your ass, which we know it does not, but it's really, really hard to break out of that brainwashing. So here's the truth, and sometimes we know this now, weight gain is just your body finding its true home. Okay, so if you dipped a little bit too low, that weight regain is not a bad thing. It's a place where you can stay, where food won't rule your thoughts all the time. When and where you're no longer going to be stuck in a cycle of panic and punishment and perfection, that little bit of weight regain will mean that you actually get to start living your life. You won't keep gaining weight forever as well. I really want to emphasize that. If you start practicing food freedom or intuitive eating and your weight shifts up a little bit, don't freak out. You will not put on more and more and more and more and be back where you started. I promise, I promise. Your body is wise. Your body is so smart, and it will stabilize at its set point. And remember, set point is that natural, healthy range where your body can function at its best. And then from there, you'll just settle into a life that feels really grounded and really peaceful and sustainable. Because the whole point of all of this is I don't want you to be obsessing about food anymore. I don't want you to be weighing yourself, weighing your food. I don't want you to be worrying about your portions. That is not living, that is not life, and that is not sustainable. So as I said, I did have a major weight loss myself. I lost 50 kgs. This was prior to stopping binge eating because I was only focusing on weight loss. And at that time, I just did not care at all about healing my relationship with food. I was so fixated on the shape of my body and the number on the scale. I was not in that atmosphere at all. So I lost the weight through bariatric surgery. And then I regained 10 kgs, and it scared the absolute crap out of me at first because of course I felt like I had failed. But here's what actually happened. So I lost the 50 kgs, I regained 10, I freaked out, but that 10 kgs that I regained, I'm still in that space right now. I have not, obviously I go between a little range here of about 3 kgs. I've stayed there for coming up 6 years. And in the last 6 years, I've not done one single diet. I've not tried to control my portions. I eat whatever I want, whatever I desire. I know how to listen to my body's hunger and fullness cues. I'm not tracking, I'm not restricting, I'm not over-exercising. And so I've managed to stay in this weight range for about 5 to 6 years by practicing intuitive eating and food freedom. And the best part, the reason why I'm staying in this weight range is because I'm not binge eating anymore. Okay? I'm not binge eating and I don't spiral because I've learned in that 6-year period, I've learned how to ground myself, regulate my emotions, tune into my body, and not just eat foods that I love, like my soul foods. I still have my chips, I still have my pizzas, but I also know how to nourish my body properly now in a way that's not because, Weight Watchers told me I have to eat that. So yes, I'm heavier than my lowest weight, but I'm actually happier and I'm calmer and I'm way more at home in my body than I was at that lowest weight. And if I had obsessed over those 10 kgs that I put back on, if I had let myself panic and restrict, I would have just continued to binge eat. Because remember that binge restrict cycle that I just explained before is that when you start to obsess over your weight and shape, you then end up restricting, whether that's mentally or physically. It triggers a binge episode. You feel guilty and ashamed, and the circle just goes around and around and around. So yes, if I had fixated on those 10 kgs that I had regained, I would never have stopped binge eating. So that's what I wanted you to know today. It is okay to gain some weight after a significant weight loss. Does not mean that you've failed. It might mean that you're actually finally finding some safety. You need to give your body a chance to find its balance. You need to trust in this process. And just remember, give yourself so much self-compassion. Know that you are not broken and you are healing. You're still on the healing path. And remembering healing does not look like shrinking your body. Sometimes healing looks like peace and stability and just having the freedom to live your life. Okay, so does this land with you? I really, really hope so, bestie. And I remember I kind of organize these podcast episodes based on what you guys message me in the DMs. I take requests. So if there is something that's been on your mind or something that you're struggling with, let me know and I can craft an episode to support you. This is a pretty good way to get your questions answered by a registered qualified eating disorder therapist. And the bonus is that any questions you have, as I said, the entire community gets to hear that response. It'll always be anonymous, of course. So the last thing that I want to touch on today is just what can I do to kind of allow this weight regain? What can I do to feel okay with this? So you need safety, essentially. The only way that you're going to feel okay with this little shift in your weight and shape is we need to foster some more safety. So your nervous system needs to know that it is okay that this is happening, that food is not scarce, that your worth is not on the line every time that your body changes. And that starts by offering yourself the things that diet culture never can, never will. And that is stability, consistency, nourishment, and compassion. So that might look like, and this is the real cornerstone of my signature program, The Breakup, it looks like eating regularly, okay? Even when you don't feel hungry after a binge, I want you to eat regularly. It means letting yourself rest and recover from that all or nothing thinking. It means wearing clothes that fit you in this body that you have right now. Do not punish yourself or feel like you have to squeeze into the smaller clothes in your wardrobe. Go out and buy yourself clothes that fit the body that you have right now because you deserve to feel confident and comfortable in your body. It will mean saying things like no to weighing your body if it sends you spiraling. Just pause that for a while. And to give yourself that sense of safety, it'll mean reminding yourself that your weight gain is not the problem. It's the fear of weight gain that is the problem. And I always say, you cannot shame yourself into a body that you love. okay? You cannot shame yourself into a body that you love. You cannot shame yourself into healing. You cannot shame yourself into ending this harmful relationship with food and eating. That's just not how it works. The work now is learning how to self-regulate without self-restricting. It is to learn to soothe your emotions without turning to food, without binging, and without needing to control your body to feel okay. You actually, and I really hope that this message comes through really strongly, you deserve a life where food is just food, where your body is just your body, and that food and your body are not battlegrounds. They are not projects. You deserve a life where you just trust yourself, really, truly trust yourself. And that trust, that inner trust and knowing, it does not come from shrinking yourself. It comes from consistently showing up with kindness again and again and again, no matter what the scale says, okay? So if you're feeling scared or you're feeling stuck or you're spiraling at the moment, I just want you to know that you are not going backwards. You are being called to go deeper. And you're being called to build the kind of relationship with food and with your body that doesn't fall apart every time your genes are sitting a little bit differently. So wherever you are right now whether you're binging, whether you're recovering from binge eating and diet culture, or you're just scared of where your body is heading, I want you to hear this again. You are healing anyway. You are healing in spite of that. Healing can be messy, can feel chaotic. It's gonna feel that way before it feels peaceful. Okay, so if this episode of Binge Free Bestie spoke to you, please know that you don't have to figure this out on your own, all right? This is exactly what I work on with you inside my program, The Breakup. That's going to help you to stop binge and emotional eating. It's going to support you to ditch diet culture, and it's going to help you to feel at peace in your body. So if you're ready to break up with food chaos, I can support you with that in the breakup. All the links are in my bios and in the show notes of this episode. And if this episode helped you to feel less alone, would you mind sharing it with a friend or leaving me a quick review? Because every share helps me to get this podcast out further and to support women in knowing that they're not broken, they're just healing. So that's all for today's episode. I hope that was helpful, and I will catch you next week.